time. What do you think? Well, thank you, Fleet. Wow, what a great entrance. You really think about that. One moment in time. You know what? We've all been blessed here this morning to have this be our moment. What do you think about that? This is our moment in time. What are we going to do with it? All month we've been talking about different kinds of dance. Today we're going to talk about the dance of spirit. No, I'm not talking about spirit like in a bottle or spirit from some other world. We're talking about our spirit. Can we dance with our spirit? I think we can. Are we dancing with it? I think we are. But how are we dancing with it? You know, I'm reminded of something that was said earlier about we have this grace in our life that we get to be in the moment. Are we here in this moment? This moment in time? Are we really here in this moment? Or are we out here somewhere in our thinking? We have a great power in our mind to use as we choose. But are we consciously aware of choosing it? Or are we on automatic pilot sometimes? Am I the only one that gets that way? Automatic pilot? No, I think not. But the important thing is this. Once we recognize we're on automatic pilot, and we want to have a different experience, what do we have to do? Choose differently. Wouldn't you think so? And what is this essence of spirit that we often talk about? It's not a static energy. It's an alive, dynamic force, isn't it? And we often talk about the spirit that we live in, this divine spirit, this God essence that we are. And if we understand that we're not separate from that, but our aspect of living with it is what we do with our spirit. Is it alive? Is it well? Are we at one with ourself? Contemplate that for a moment. Are we at one with ourself, or are we busy being at one with everything that is not ourself? That's an authentic power that we have within us. Are we authentic? Now, this dance with spirit is actually a pretty awesome thing that we have to do. It's not something that's static. It's something that we get to live and come alive with. It's been said before that life begins at the edge of our comfort zone. That's an interesting thing to think about. At the edge of our comfort zone. But to understand that, we have to first begin to understand what's our comfort zone. And all our comfort zone really is those things that are familiar to us. That we do over and over. And they're not necessarily good for us in the way we feel about them, but we're used to them so we can deal with them. I'm here to say that our spirit, our dance with spirit, actually begins also, too, at that edge of our comfort zone. That place where we're willing to change and to grow. Not just to resign ourselves to the daily things as it being the same. Oh my gosh. Could you imagine right now if we stayed the same now in this moment for the rest of our lives? With no growth, no excitement, nothing. What kind of a dance of spirit is that? But imagine for a moment. Take this within your heart for a moment and feel if you were to bring your heart alive into what you do and to dream and bring that heart into your dreams for the rest of your life. What begins to stir in your energy? Begins to move, doesn't it? Am I the only one that feels that moving? No, I think not, because it's our nature to do so. But there's an interesting thing about the heart and how it dances with our own spirit. And we all know what it's like to do something half-heartedly. Anybody ever done something half-heartedly? Yeah, of course. How does that feel like? Well, we already know the results in advance, don't we? They're not going to come out very good. Because we only put half our heart into it, or even less than that. And we're not expecting it to turn out really good, so we're not going to be offended if it doesn't show up right. But here's the truth of the matter. What happens when you put your whole heart into something? Don't you generally expect something great to happen from it? And we usually get what we expect. That's the divine presence we have with our spirit. What do we genuinely expect with all our being, our belief systems, our way we fit into our lives? Are we willing to put our heart into our own lives and beliefs? Interesting thought, isn't it? We often think that we have to believe like our neighbor, or to believe like the government tells us, or to believe like all our leaders teach us. But the truth of it is, we'll only believe as we believe. Are we willing to change our beliefs in such a way we can dance with our spirit, move out of that comfort zone, and come alive with what we are? Oh my gosh, just imagine that for a moment. If we actually came alive with what we are and began to dance with that dynamic essence we call our spirit, that force that moves through us into our creative faculties. And boy, it's creative, isn't it? Because what we focus on and what we energize into our lives, it grows. And sometimes what we're focusing on and energizing is something we don't really want. Think about that for a moment. Something in our life, it turns out not so good, and what do? Go, I knew it was going to happen that way. I just knew it. Well, we knew something before it happened, didn't we? I'm just suggesting that we're like that all the time within our spirit if we pay attention. Be aware of what's stirring inside of us. Be aware of where we are in our world and what we want to create. We do know that if we want peace in our world, where does it have to start? Peace within ourselves, right? Peace within our families. Peace within our neighborhoods. But what do we often do? We'll often say, well, when they become peaceful, then I'll do it. And what do we get? We get to have a whole life of misery because we're not willing to be peaceful within ourselves. It has to start within our spirit, within ourselves, within our world. And it doesn't matter what other people think or believe about you, because the truth of it is, when your spirit comes alive in alignment with who you are and what you want, and what your gifts you are here to give, you begin to create this energy about you that attracts all this magnificent stuff that matches. All these people that match that. In fact, the people around you to stay in your presence will change for that reason. And they will learn how to come alive in themselves. How to dance with their spirit. How to be authentically alive within their dreams, their desires, that God-given urge that we have to do something and live life. But wait a minute for a moment. But what if I do it and they don't? What a way to start a conversation with ourselves. What if I do it and they don't? That mean I'm going to give up? No. Because the dance with our spirit is this. If we do it anyway, because we know what is right for us, we can change the world. Because the world will change. Because we're not disconnected from everything else. There is one spirit, one force, one source, whatever you want to call this. Because it's not the words, it's what it is, the essence, that moves through all of life. And if we take responsibility for ourselves, where we are, and how we interrelate with everything else, we begin to empower our universe. We begin to empower our neighbors, our family, our sons and daughters, everyone. If we keep waiting for other people to do it, is it going to happen, honestly? How many have waited for our friends, our neighbors, our spouses, our co-workers to change? Because when they change, then I'll change how I treat them. It doesn't work very well, does it? But we try it, and we keep trying it. And what do we get for that? We get a trying time. What if we were to inspire ourselves? And when somebody comes up and asks us, how's your day going? You go, and you just step up and say, I'm having a really great day. Doesn't have to be loud and boisterous. But just imagine, if you are really having a great day, somebody might even ask you, eventually, what are you doing? How is that happening for you? Because last week you're complaining about everything. What's stirring inside of you? Can I learn a little of that? I'd like to be at peace with myself and like myself. And maybe eventually even love myself. But we spend so much time doing what? Pointing fingers? Do we do that? They did it. The economy did it. I'm not saying these things aren't real and they're not happening. What I am saying is how we participate, how we dance with our own spirit within the essence of all these things going on, determine what we attract to us, how we experience life. Whether we're a force for something that magnetizes greatness within us or one that repels it. It's really our choice. our dynamic spirit that we live within ourselves, which is interconnected with all essence and energy, because we are energy beings. It's here, it's alive, and it's well. It really is. Think about that for a moment. I believe, as Fleet mentioned earlier, that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Not the other way around. Does that mean I'm right? No. What that simply means is, because I had that perception, I get to experience the world as it is. If I was to believe that I am a human being having a spiritual experience, that means I have to search outside myself to find my spirituality. But if I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, that means I can bring my authentic spiritual self to my humanness, to my experiences of life. That means I'm connected to the source of all divine essence. What a great way to be, wouldn't you think so? If we were to really begin to understand that. I was thinking about something earlier this morning, the idea that, we've heard the idea that, we were created in the image of God. But you know what I realized this morning, thinking about that? How many of us believe that, and use the idea that we actually create God in our image. And we try to put our attributes on what this God force is. And we think if it's not working out, it's God's fault. But really, it's our not seeing what's really there. This God presence, whatever words you want to call it. Yeah, I like the word God. When I was growing up, that used to be one of the words I was afraid of. God, what is that? It's funny what you focus on. I guess I'm going to focus over here a little bit. Yeah, there we go. When I was growing up, there's two things I didn't want to talk about. One of the main ones was I never wanted to talk about religion. I never wanted to talk about spirituality. Well, you get what you focus on. But it was my saving grace. And I mean by that is when I understand how powerful we are in our spiritual beingness. And we all have our own personal religion regardless of what faith we begin with. Because we will always interpret it in a way that meets our spirit. But imagine for a moment, if you can start from the source being within you, and then you start contemplating the kind of life that you would like to live, and instead of, like me for a long time, copping out and saying, well, it's because of that, or because of this, or because of that, and realizing it's just because my awareness is so small. For me, my awareness was really small. I had to open up my awareness to realize there's a lot more going on here. I don't have to keep believing that the world is flat. I can believe it's spherical now. It's round. But I can also go beyond that and realize it's interdimensional. That it's infused with spirit and this divine essence through every aspect of all our world. Do I know that to be true? I can't prove it. But one thing I do know, I can prove how I feel is different because of it. Whenever you infuse yourself in alignment with your spirit, you will feel this divine urge within you. This power that moves through the divine essence of life that we create in our world. We know that we're creative beings, and what we focus on we get more of. We've heard that. What we speak about, we get to learn more about. Whatever we look at, we learn more and we draw it in. We've heard that over and over and over. But think about that for a moment. If everything we're experiencing in our life is based on those things, I have to ask myself, is it something I really want? And it may have been. It served me to this point, so I don't have to say it shouldn't be there. It should be there because I focused on it and brought it through this divine essence. But if I want a different experience, if I want to dance with my spirit, dance on the edge of my comfort zone and beyond, I have to look at other possibilities. Maybe I am more powerful than I thought. Maybe I'm not as small as I was thinking. Maybe I am this essence of spirit that is huge beyond what I've ever measured. Just imagine for a moment, if you can just let your imagination soar for a little bit and open up and begin to think about if your energy and your attractive force was even twice as large as it is now, or even 4 times as large as it is now, can you begin to imagine the life that you'd like to live from that? If you can begin to imagine, you begin to dance with your spirit. You begin to move into a force that is our nature to do so. We are creative beings. We are magic in action. We are the God force living in experience. We are not separate from our God. We're not separate from our source. We are one with our source. And that's why when we think about, as Fleet mentioned earlier, about spiritual mind treatment, when we know in our minds, or we do prayer, that it's already done, imagine how powerful that is. The greatest entrepreneurs of our time already have imagined what they want their life to be like, the kind of business they want, the results they want. They have it all in an image. Are we willing to do that for ourselves? And imagine ourselves being powerful beyond reason, allowing our spirit to soar and actually move beyond what we've thought to be the case, into the possibilities and the probabilities that we are creative beings. And we create the life that we want now. But we have to take responsibility for that. Oh my gosh, responsibility. But here's the greatest gift of responsibility. Once we take responsibility for ourselves, that puts us square in the point of power, in this present moment. In this moment, we are in our power. And we can now learn new ways of choosing what to do with it. We know what the old ways get us. If we've always thought what we've always thought, we're always going to get more of what we got, right? And we've heard that in many different ways. But the magic is when we start thinking differently, in such a way that serves us and our humanity, life opens up and changes everything. Peace is not something we find outside. Peace is something that we allow inside. We don't have to resist. We're really good at that. We have to learn how to allow our dance with our spirit, our dance with the grace that moves us. Because that's our greatest power, to dance with our spirit. And we can choose how to do that in any moment. And we're never wrong. We are always right for us in the moment. So now let's take this moment now and know that we are right for ourselves. And we can dance with our spirit, dance beyond the comfort zone, and create a world of magnificence. Because I know that you all are magnificent. That I know for sure. And with that, I thank you.